Hi guys, I'm Gene Simmons. I just finished talking to Kara, but actually, Kara, being a shrink, just finished talking to me. What have I learned? Be delusional. Highly recommend you guys do that. Be delusional about yourselves.
Hi friends, it's Kara. Welcome back to Really Famous. Today I have let's just say unique talk for you with a legendary rock and roll Hall of Famer, an icon from an iconic band, Kiss. It's Gene Simmons, and he makes an impression pretty much no matter what he does. First, I want to give you some facts that I think you should know. Gene and his band members, including Paul Stanley, took to the stage for the very last time in December with 2 final concerts at Madison Square Garden. So yes, he was performing with Kiss up until very, very recently. And now he's touring worldwide with the Gene Simmons Band. So not only is Gene a rock star, but he's a serial entrepreneur. He recently launched Simmons Hamilton Productions, which is set to produce 25 movies in its first 5 years. He has a line of sodas, vodka, and wines called Moneybag. He has dabbled in restaurants, books, art shows, and television. His reality show, Gene Simmons Family Jewels, was one of the longest running reality shows of all time. There were 167 episodes over 9 seasons. Gene has written 7 books. He has a family-friendly, rock-inspired restaurant band called Rock and Brews, which he co-founded with Paul Stanley, also from Kiss. And he is a merchandising giant. It was his idea to expand the Kiss brand beyond the stage. At this point, they have more than 5,000 licensed and merchandised items. And Kiss has generated more money from merchandising and trademark deals than any other band in music history. So yeah, pretty impressive. If you watched Gene Simmons' Family Jewels, which was kind of like a Keeping Up with the Kardashians type of show, it featured his life with his wife, Shannon, who he wasn't married to when the show started, and their 2 kids. You may know that Gene is known for being promiscuous. He's very well known for having a lot of women in his life, or for having had a lot of women in his life, past tense. He has often used the number 5,000 to describe just how many. Gene dated Cher, he dated Diana Ross, which we'll get into a bit today. And even though he's been with his wife for decades, and as I said, they have 2 children together, Nick and Sophie, for most of their years, they were unmarried and he was simultaneously involved with other women. So this is what Gene says. I'm merely repeating it to you so you have background on some of the things he's about to talk about. Okay, and here is something particularly interesting to me. Gene grew up in Israel with his mother, who was a Holocaust survivor. They were poor, and Gene's father cheated on his mother and eventually left the 2 of them. And they eventually moved to New York. And this is where I see Gene's story really beginning. Jumping ahead, Gene came into this interview firing on all cylinders. He has personality and he was raring to go. He's used to shocking people, and I think he was ready to do that with me and you. You will hear him make a lot of sweeping statements, especially about men and women. Do I agree with what he says? Often, no. But this is not one of those shows where we debate issues head to head. It's a show where you and I get to know the essence of my guest, where we hang out in such a way that we really feel like we get them and we know them personally. So do I challenge him here and there? Yes, you'll see some of that. But mostly you'll see me redirecting and trying to give him space to talk so we know who he really is. But here's the thing. I think there's more to Gene than meets the eye. Stay tuned because after our talk, I'll give you a little analysis. In the meantime, just FYI, a few more things you should know. You will hear Gene's wife, Shannon, call him during our chat, and they talk on mic, and it's not G-rated. In fact, this is not what I'd call a clean episode. So if you're not into that, move on to my next interview. All good. We filmed this interview at the Kookaburra Lounge, a state-of-the-art comedy and music lounge at Ovation Hollywood in the heart of Hollywood, just steps away from Disney's El Capitan, Mann's Chinese, and Jimmy Kimmel Live. The intimate and modern lounge was perfect for my talk with Jean. In fact, you've got to check out photos and video clips I have on my YouTube channel, Instagram, and TikTok. They're fun. I shared some cool reels with Jean and me posing. And yeah, it's fun and cool. And you can also watch most of this interview instead of listening to it if you'd like. Just head to youtube.com/reallyfamous. So big thanks to Katie Cazorla for hosting us at the Kookaburra Lounge. You can check out their calendar and head on over there at thekookaburralounge.com. Thank you also to my friend Nedra, who was my right-hand woman during this filming, making sure my cameras were focused and helping to make sure everything was running smoothly. In fact, you'll hear Jean mention her at one point because she was crawling on the floor behind me to make sure the batteries on my voice recorder were still juiced up. So that was fun. All right, moving on. Let's get started. And again, you've been warned.
This was very impressive.
I'm very picky with who I choose for my show, and I do have quite a good collection.
By the way, how much content have you gotten so far?
How much content?
I asked first.
A lot. I've been doing it since 2017.
It's not what I meant. It's about with me.
How much content do I have for you?
I already asked that.
What do you mean? The last couple minutes?
Well, so much time has gone by. We could have been like on it.
But this is what we do.
This is what we do.
This is the talk. This is not a formal Q&A. I mean, I have some talking points, but we're going to chat and I'm going to get to know you.
Getting to know all about you.
You've done 8 million interviews already, probably.
1 or 2.
What's the question? You're like, please don't ask me that question
How
again.
How long is it? Oh, they always want to talk about the tongue.
Uh-huh.
I would stick it out, but the floor's dirty.
What do you feel like nobody ever asks you that they should ask you about?
Am I gay?
Why?
Nobody's ever asked me if I was gay.
Well, is it because of the 5,000 women?
No, maybe I don't come off that way. I don't know. I just work here.
Uh-huh. But you have the stories behind it. And everybody, I'm sure, asks you about Cher, and they ask you about Diana Ross, and they want to know about your relationship with Shannon.
Yeah.
But I feel like I also want to know about your mom, though, because I have heard you talk a little bit about your mom, and I kind of feel like you have a soft spot for her for good reason.
Any boy of any age will tell you they're mama's boys. Because fathers tragically leave their families. The statistics are staggering and shameful. Mothers stay there until death.
Right. So your father stuck around for how long and then he left?
My father was a hound, and he had, as far as I knew, either 4 or 5 other wives and other children all over the world. There's even talk of a half-sister somewhere in Paris that I don't know anything about. And he was very active. And I finally met my half-brother and 3 half-sisters by 2 or 3 different other mothers. And yeah, actually I was afraid of getting married. I was afraid of getting married all my life because I didn't want to turn into my father, start kids and everything. And so for a long time, the first 29 years with Shannon, anything you can imagine. I had an appetite, and I just always wanted what I wanted. Men,
Mm-hmm.
They compartmentalize. See what I'm doing on them? No, me. I compartmentalized and thought, well, that was over there. Doesn't affect this. But it does. Everything affects everything. And arrogant, and where are you going? Where am I going? Who wants to know? That sort of thing. On the other hand, take a look at it from the male point of view. You grow up under the roof, if you're lucky, and there's food to eat and everything, and your mother or father are there. But usually the mother, where are you going? And you can't wait to get out from under that roof. And as soon as you get out and you're dateable of that age, you meet a girl, then she asks the same questions. Where are you going? Why are you looking at her? All that stuff. So as soon as you leave the household, females do not want you to wander because we wander.
So did you know that at the time that
I-
this was what was going on? It was about your father. Were you aware of it then?
No,
No.
I was not clear enough to be able to verbalize it or sort of connect the feelings and the emotions, but I know what it felt like not to have a father, growing up. There was no father figure. My Uncle George was as close as I got to a reliable sort of father figure. So, and I was an only child with my mother, so you had to sort of figure it out by yourself. And I knew my shortcomings, but I didn't think of them as shortcomings because in the male culture, there's cocksmanship, which is, that guy's got a million chicks and blah, 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 and that's cool. If women get that, you're a slut. Especially by other women. The harshest critic of women are women. Yeah. So, generally speaking, almost exclusively, women are from Mars, men have penis. See what I did there? By the way, the guy that wrote that book...
Yeah, what was his name? Bob Gray or something like that?
Well, the original title was Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, or the other way around. Women are from Venus.
No, I think you got it right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Men Are From Mars. He got divorced and lost all his money. That's true.
He needed a prenup, I guess.
He's not Jewish. We're the people who, lawyers, bankers, accountants.
Well, clearly you're smart. Very.
Never claimed to be, but I'm still
That's
here.
fine, but I mean, you can see
By the
all.
way, you're 12 now, right? How old are you? I just
Continue.
turned 75.
Congratulations.
Yeah. I never thought about anything except I've always had a fear of being poor.
Well, you were poor as a kid, right?
Yeah, we had nothing. I mean, once my father wasn't there, and we were always poor in Israel, which is where I'm from. My mother and my father are Hungarian, and my mother survived the Nazi concentration camps when she was 14, but there was never any money. I remember when we came to America through her brothers, Larry and George, who were successful
So they came to America before she did?
before the war.
Okay. And what, they had businesses or something here?
Yes, my Uncle George, her brother, was a very successful, let me get the words right. He made false teeth and false balls. So yes, the guys that got injured or whatever, somebody had to make prosthetic balls. And one of the first jobs I ever had was delivering this stuff in a brown paper bag and taking the subway to dentists and other doctors, and a prosthodontist. So he made a very good living. And my other uncle, Larry Klein, was a baker, owned his own bakery and everything. He'd get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and he showed me how to do it. He'd have these pastry shells around, and he'd have jelly or stuff like that, and he showed me how good he was with a knife and just kind of flick the stuff, and I would get in there. Real marksmanship. And he would bring over, when, what were they called? Glad bags, those plastic garbage. You don't just throw your garbage in the thing. There's a plastic covering.
Oh, a flap? Is that what you're saying?
No. Whenever you throw something in your garbage pail.
Yeah, the glad
there's
bags.
Plastic. Glad bags.
Glad bags.
Yeah, glad bags. So when they first came out, my Uncle Larry would bring over glad bags filled with cheese danishes and jam and all that stuff. And I would stuff myself like a Christmas goose. Just wouldn't even chew it. Just to this day, I just had it. I don't want to talk about it because I feel guilty.
Okay, but
and I
it's
swallowed
life.
too. And then you die. That's all there is.
Okay, so let's get back to this. So you had two entrepreneurial uncles who came here before you and your mom.
I don't think they ever thought of it that way, and neither did I. You came to America to survive,
Right.
to be able to feed your families, because where they came from, there weren't jobs, and Europe was in turmoil. Europe, right before World War II, was still trying to survive from World War I, which devastated all of Europe. So the economies were dead, people were starving. The Deutschmark after World War I, yes, I used to teach 6th grade.
I know.
The Deutschmark after World War I was worthless. You'd see Germans with wheelbarrows filled with Deutschmarks, I mean pounds of Deutschmark, trying to get eggs and bread.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so it was very difficult living. Meantime, America was, the land of plenty.
Prosperity. So your mother came over, and so did you talk about things? Were you like a talking type of mother, son?
No, I'm the male of the species. So ask me how I am. Gene, how are you? Go ahead.
Jean, how are you?
Fine. And if I ask you, how are you? Well, when I was a child of 4, and then we don't come up for air for 2 weeks. That's why you guys slap the newspaper out of our hands in the morning. Why are you reading the newspaper? Because I don't want to talk, bitch. I just want to read the paper.
Okay.
You know that. By the way, scientific fact, you guys use 5 times as many words per day as the male of the species. About 5,000 to 25,000.
Well, that's a fact I have never. That's a fact I've never heard
Google
before. That's interesting.
And schmoogle.
I love that you have Kiss on the back of your phone too. That's fun.
Okay, let's see what it says. Oh, go away. Okay, here we go. How many more words per day do women use than men? It's a fair. Okay, read it and weep. Out
Men
loud.
speak about 5,000 words a day. Women speak about 15,000. And that is from TikTok.com.
Okay, let's go to...
I like to check my sources.
Research shows that most women speak, on the average, 20,000 words per day, approximately 13,000 more than the average male. That's from Gladu Consulting. BBC.
Okay, BBC.
Prattle of the sexes. Do women... Here we go. When it comes to conversation, are women really more likely to be bigger talkers than men? Women use an average of 20,000 words a day compared to the mere 7,000 that men utter. What does it mean? Do I have my mother's hips? Why won't he call? Because he doesn't want to talk to you. Why won't he call?
All right, so your mother, though, but you total respect and love for how she brought you up, right?
I was always aware that my mother was wise. Speaking of potato chips, I'm doing a podcast, so you're on live.
What area of town are you in?
I'm here in Hollywood. Can I ask why you're calling?
Never mind.
No, you can call.
Welcome to the
tell
show.
Me. Everybody's.
I just wanted to know if you wanted to get laid tonight.
Yes, I would like that very much.
Okay, so if you do, when you're on your way home, can you pick up my dress from the Glen?
Can you text it to me? Because I've got to be the Beverly Hills Hotel.
I don't know what's wrong with my phone. The texts are not going through to anybody, and I don't know what's wrong with it. So
Okay, I'll make a note for myself.
All right.
Okay, it was good talking to you.
Make a note of it.
I will. Yeah. Okay.
And that's that. So all right.
she put up, by the way, I was gallivanting. It's a nice way for the first 29 years of our time together.
Right.
She gave me 2 kids. And everybody she knew, every next door neighbor, and if it moved, I desired it. And if it didn't move, we'd work something out. See what that was another joke.
So what happened then?
It's not unique.
What happened for you personally? What was the wake-up call? Was it when she said
it takes a long time. It takes a long time for I talk in this way, and then I listen back to it and I go, you asshole, just say what you feel. It takes a long time for men, the male of the species, to grow up. You look at a guy who's 6'2", I'm almost 250 pounds now, Oh, no, it's not a man. It's a 14-year-old horny boy who will mount anything and not care and mean nothing. Don't want to cuddle, nothing. There's just, and it comes, and I know exactly where it comes from, and I've shared this with social scientists and anthropologists and all that. They said, no, it's in the DNA. When we were Australopithecines, Australopithecus africanus, then changed to Australopithecus afarensis, when we, by the way, started to be more biped, because we came from the plains of Africa. Mostly the beginning was in the Olduvai Gorge in Tanganyika, as discovered by L.S. Leakey. Lucy, the 3,600,000-year-old biped, was 3.5 feet tall. She was a female. And we couldn't stay in the caves. You had to stay in the cave because you'd have monthly cycles, and you get out in the field, and every predator would be able to smell your blood. You'd be killed immediately, not to mention the fact that you weren't as strong as the males, and you couldn't run as fast. So you're fucked. Maybe not the way you want to be. So women hid in caves and hoped that there'd be a male that they could somehow, I'll give you children, I'll give you some of this for some of that. And of course, nothing's changed. The guy that shows up with the biggest slab of meat on his shoulder gets the alpha female. Nothing's changed. It's still the same. Show me the ugliest guy who's hung like a second grader, who's 2 feet tall and has a few $1 billion, and I'll show you the most ravishing, beautiful women around him.
All right,
It's just life.
But you specifically, so I get it. You're giving me the background.
I never wanted to get married because I thought once I got married, I would stray. I'd become my father.
So you didn't feel like you were straying because you weren't married, even though you were in a committed relationship.
We had a prenup, and I was very clear. I don't want children. I don't want to get married. If this is not to your liking, I'll support your decision. No problem. I'll introduce you to other guys that may want to get married. And I said, but warning, men are men.
All right, let's get back to you.
Yeah.
So then you were afraid.
It's easier to talk about somebody else than
So
me.
you should know that I'm also a therapist.
Oh, okay.
So I really like to know what your experiences are. And I'm interested in what your ups and downs are. But yeah, your ups and downs in life, how you feel, what you think about, how you grew.
I'm probably delusional, but it helps me not cope. It's an easier life. And I've never, I've heard about people with depression and feeling sad, and I've never been unhappy. I've never been unhappy. When my mother died, I was devastated. That's pretty much it.
Of course you were devastated when your mom...
In a different way than you might imagine.
Oh, how?
I made it, of course it was that my mother gave me everything, including life itself. I made it personal because men are assholes. I wonder if my mother was proud of me. I wonder if I was as good as I should have been, the I part of it, which women do all the time.
So you struggled with those questions. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and I never got high. I never smoked, never been drunk in my life, which is why I can hold my hand in front of you and it doesn't do, that stuff, for the simple reason that I never wanted to break my mother's heart.
Yeah. It's quite a strong motivation if you are raised that way.
It may be, yes, if you're raised that way. There is nature and there's nurture. The nature of men is to do stupid things because we think, we know we can get away with it.
So how did you get through that questioning after your mother died of, did I do or did I become the person who she would have been proud of?
In my 60s, we were doing our TV show, which lasted a long time, 8 years and 167 episodes. There's a lot of stuff. The kids grew up on the show. And I remember being in Belize it or not. See what I did there? That was another joke. And by the way, as a therapist, you don't laugh at jokes. Is that part of your training?
I'm smiling, but I'm a podcaster, so I
inside.
don't always laugh into
Well,
the
you're hurting
mic.
my feelings. Oh, that's right. I don't have feelings because we're men. In all seriousness, I remember having a moment. Guys don't usually have moments. We don't have that stuff. Oh, what was I thinking or all that? No, you're in the here and the now, and you just say, that's what I want to do. And afterwards you go, what was I thinking? Don't do that. Just forward. Just keep moving forward. Next. That includes girls. Next. And I remember being in Belize. Not that I was mean-spirited or anything. I think I treated everybody well, respectfully. It was never raised my hand or my voice or anything. It was just, you live life. I just had a great meal and a Danish. Really enjoyed it. Next. And I remember we were filming in Belize. There were no scripts or anything. It was just kind of talking points. And I remember there were mosquitoes and everything, and I don't know what happened, but I dropped to my knees, just like in the movies, and started stammering and all that stuff. We have to get married. I have to stop this, that kind of stuff.
So just like that,
Yeah,
it just
because
hit
if I
you.
thought about it long enough, I would convince myself with logic, why do you want somebody telling you what to do, where to go, and where to be? Like, just live free. Be an ethical person, tell the truth, don't hurt anybody, but be free to decide for yourself what you want to do. Because marriage is an institution, and the joke is you have to be nuts to be in a fucking institution. That's the joke. Right. But in essence, you have to get over yourself to give somebody else dominion over you. And that's a tough one for men. We won't let other men, we have the pecking order kind of thing. If a guy comes up, we challenge it. We stand up for it. That's our survival method in DNA. Otherwise, if he dominates you, you lose not just face, but, power. And ultimately for us, it's about power. We can't give birth. All we have is our reputation or power and all that. I'm really fascinating, aren't I?
You are fascinating.
I am.
As all people
I'm
are.
convinced.
As
Pardon?
all people are, really.
No,
if you
no.
get in there.
Oh, no,
but you
no.
have to get in there.
No, you don't have to get in.
But I feel,
I'm immediately.
I feel like you have a bit of a, you have things that you like to say that
All
you're
of it.
comfortable talking about.
I'll talk about anything.
Yeah, so it's pretty easy. Was your mom ever disappointed in you?
Not as far as I know.
Not once? You don't remember like one thing where you felt guilty for something that you did?
She was concerned, because my mother was 14 and was hurt. She saw our whole family destroyed in Nazi Germany. And the gas chambers, she saw her mother go with her grandmother, all of it. And she didn't want me to get hurt. And I made sure both my roommates in college were black because I wanted to confront any inner or outward racism I might have. I remember one of the guys was Rob Edness, who convinced me, so funny, who convinced me that on weekends he was a gigolo. He would rent out himself for $15. I go, $15? Wow! And he was a funny guy, and the roommate was great too. He convinced the college that he had a twin brother, Rob and Bob Edness. So one
Totally made it up?
Totally made up. On one, he's wearing glasses, and the other one, another photo, and there he is next to himself. And my mother was concerned, and she said, I don't want you to be, because she grew up, anybody who was different, who was not Jewish and Hungarian, and they were fascists. The Hungarians were fascists anyway. She was concerned. Different people, if they're not Jewish, they're going to try to hurt you and all that. And then I started going out after Cher with Diana Ross. And I wanted to get my mother ready. I said, Mom, I'm seeing this, R&B singer. She's very popular, black, very. And she's very nice and everything. And I just wanted to ask you, is it okay to bring her over for Passover dinner? And she goes, who is the thick Hungarian accent? How is the orchestra? The band's fine, Mom.
The orchestra.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Said, no difference in, it's no such thing as band. It's an orchestra.
But she would know a band because of you, I would think.
Yeah, but in her mind, it's an orchestra. And she
Okay.
never understood who paid me. What are the hours of work? And who gives you all this money?
Okay.
Just didn't understand.
It didn't compute
No.
for her.
And I gave her, big money. Didn't understand the zeros, what it all meant. And I had to go to the bank and,
Uh-huh.
Can you pick up my dress from if you pass by the glass?
Yeah. So now you have it in a text. It worked.
That's my orders.
So
So
you asked if you could bring her to Passover dinner.
Yeah, so
And she said, who is
I
Diana
said,
Ross?
No, I didn't mention the name. I said, she's an Army girl. Oh, I love Diana Summer. Didn't have a clue who it was or anything.
Uh-huh.
I have not met many pure souls. I know it's easier to talk about your mother that way because it's your mother. I've met the Dalai Lama, and there was a sense, okay, this is somebody who's got, moral fiber, ethics, and so on. I haven't met many people who have that. My mother had a kind of a philosophy that I adhere to today, which is I don't care about stuff, really. This literally was in my closet. My daughter bought me these. Shannon brought me those.
Love these boots.
She
What are these boots?
These are heterosexual cowboy boots.
They're cool. They're
'Cause
like
there's a difference.
snakeskin.
And this was given to me by
Your watch.
Eric, who's our drummer in Kiss. And I don't go shopping. I get nervous going into Starbucks. Let me have a cup of coffee. Would you like a half cup decaf and a half a sober sack and a rebar cigar? If you don't give me a cup like 7-Eleven, I'm going to take myself out. I just want coffee and get out.
Yeah.
I can't go shopping.
You just need a pike. That's what you order
A
at
what?
Starbucks. Pike. It's a pike place. It's just coffee.
I don't want to say those words.
All right. Well, you need a grande pike is what I'm telling you for the
Stupidity
future.
has taken over life. We have to get back to the English language. It pre-existed. It's not a venti. That's not what it means.
Well, venti, of course, means, I'm sure you know what it means.
Go ahead, tell them.
20 ounces.
Yeah,
In
it's
Italian,
not.
it's 20.
It's not, is it?
It's not 20 ounces?
No.
What is it?
I have no idea.
I don't even know.
And why do you want to refer to coffee by ounces? And Americans don't know what ounce is.
And
Just
also,
go give me this.
also, why ounces? Like, we should have the metric system here, I'm just saying.
Americans refuse.
But it's tens.
By the way, I
it's
studied
easy.
all that stuff. Why
Yeah.
America refuses to go on the metrics, which is logical. And it comes down to minerals, oil, and self-sufficiency. The middle of America is the breadbasket of the world. We could feed the planet. We don't need anybody else. We do have the ability to frack. You know what that is?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Fracking, oil. It's all here. We need nobody. The landmass is larger than Europe. What are you going to have the rest of the world tell you what to do, including wearing little cutesy shorts and playing soccer? It's the biggest thing in the world. We refuse. We have football, which is not a ball at all. Yeah, Americans are completely self-sufficient and don't need the world.
So that's what you're saying is the reason why we don't have the metric system
Yes,
here?
if
It was
you
a
were-
way to stay independent?
No, you don't even think about anybody else. There are 45 million people
Oh,
that
so
go
it's
to
like
Las
myopic.
Vegas.
You're just seeing yourself or our own. Is that what you're saying? We're not even looking at the external world?
If you were in any other country, the American culture would dominate you. The music you hear, the stars of the world, Taylor Swift, who's great, all that stuff, it dominates the world. The burgers you eat, the pizza you eat, all that stuff. I haven't had frog's legs recently, have you?
No.
Yeah. Cordon bleu, most people have no idea what you're talking about and could care less. Means nothing. A rabbit's head with worms sticking out of it. Fuck out of here.
My son actually
You have children?
messaged
You're
me.
12.
thank you.
Yeah.
He's messaged me. He's in Korea, South Korea right now, and he showed me and my
Octopus
husband
soup.
live octopus.
It's octopus soup. I'm well aware of
and
it.
I could see it moving.
And people eat it.
And he
live.
ate
Yeah.
it. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
lot.
that's going to be popular.
That's not going to work in the
Of
U.S.
course, nowhere.
Okay, but wait, let's go.
By the
So-
way, the South Koreans, and my daughter Sophie's huge, so's Nick, in the music world. She's got, she works with the K-pop groups and everything. She writes and manages and everything. What's your friend doing on the ground?
Oh, she's checking the voice recorder because the batteries were a little iffy before how we
Okay,
were
I
looking.
thought she was like praying. Some Middle Eastern countries do that.
We're looking good. It fell over and I couldn't.
Oh,
tell.
okay, fabulous.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Just wanted
Thank
to
you.
double check 'cause you're saying awesome stuff, and I want to make sure we capture it.
Right. I don't want to come and go back to the computer and be like, okay, this got cut off. So
So-
she's here for that. Well, she's
So
here for
my
more than that.
daughter goes to South Korea. She's been to South Korea to
Uh-huh.
write with the K-pop bands. In fact, the song
What does she do with the K-pop bands?
she writes and produces them
Oh,
and does everything.
fabulous.
Oh, she's huge. Bubblegum, which is a massive song on the planet, that's her song. So when she goes over there, every corner, McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Pizza Hut, anywhere you go, nowhere is there a, live octopus soup.
Right.
That's all. It's like grits. No, nobody eats that. When you go to the South, what you get is Starbucks and McDonald's, and that's
Sure, now.
dominates the planet for one reason. That's what people want.
Okay, so I have to talk about the fact that you were like the original licensing market, like business. Your business sense is insane.
All the knowledge of mankind is right here. So if you don't know something, ask. Of course, it's Siri. Ask Siri, and so the rest of it is up to you. So you can't say, "Oh, I didn't know that." Ask. So the way, there are books. Before that, there were books, and I used to spend every day after yeshiva because I studied to be a rabbi. Yeah. Then I discovered there were no chicks there, so I gave that up right away. The prime directive, the urge to merge. See what I did there? I used to go to the library. I'm the only one I ever met who's read the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Guess what? My son who ate the octopus,
Very impressive.
that's what he did. I would get these encyclopedia volumes for him.
Yeah.
And by the way, kids weren't reading encyclopedias at that time in the 2000s, but he would sit on his
2000s.
bed. You know what I mean?
For me, that's 100 years ago.
But still, even then, in the early
Very
2000s,
impressive.
who's sitting there with a
Knowledge
big...
is the secret power of anybody. And despite anything else, the jewelry you wear and all that stuff, it's free to anybody who cares to take the time.
Right, so you just absorbed a lot of information.
You
were very curious.
I'm boring at events when I started to talk to you about Australopithecus africanus
Yeah.
and stuff. The rest of the people just don't care.
Right, but it's very interesting to you. It's fascinating. You could dive deep on a lot of
Everything
topics.
is fascinating, including the difference between we are complete. We have nothing in common. Nothing. Our brains are wired differently. We have chemicals inside of us you don't have. We're completely different. You know why men die younger than their wives? Because they want to. Yeah. Do a guy joke.
It's interesting.
Do a guy joke. Go ahead.
I don't have a guy joke.
There are none.
I don't have a
You know why there are
woman
no
joke
guy
either.
jokes? We don't care. You guys are so sensitive about everything.
So this is a
This is a
big...
beautiful style. Your jeans are 100 years old. That's nice. Anyway, nothing
It's so
phases us.
interesting. So
Yeah.
it's interesting to me what comes to the top for you a lot is gender, men versus women. Is it a big theme or just today what you're in the mood to talk
the
about?
biggest mystery in life are you guys. Let's see what business just came in.
Was it business?
Paul Stanley.
Oh, so Paul Stanley, and you just sold the whole encyclopedia, or what do you call it?
The brand.
The brand. You sold the whole brand. You sold all of KISS.
Almost all. Yeah.
So so is there going to be a new KISS then? There's going to be like young.
There are. Like the perennial, that's a big word, like gymnasium kids. Look that up. The caterpillar. when it goes into the cocoon, it looks like the end, but it's really the beginning. What comes out is more beautiful and is not relegated or trapped by gravity. It can soar, and that's what's happening with
Yeah,
Kiss.
I love that analogy. Yes. Okay, that's what's
I love
happening.
almost everything that comes out of my mouth, and sometimes out of my ass.
So, okay, so bringing that back, I forget what came first, Paul Stanley's text, or was it a phone call, or the focus on the difference between men and women? My question.
I didn't understand.
Oh,
it.
we were talking about with the metaphor with the butterfly.
Well, now it's Meta 5 because inflation.
See what I did there?
You're taking my stuff.
I'm getting it.
So what was the question?
So the question was, okay, so there's going to be more to Kiss.
Yes, we have some new partners called Pop House. They're responsible for the ABBA show, which is one of a kind show. But even that technology is now yesterday's. The astonishing thing, you know what virtual reality is? You put on these glasses, and by the way, I wear these almost all the time for one simple reason, because the sun, you see, never sets on planet cool.
Now that's cute.
So if you can imagine reality glasses, virtual reality, so in front of you is a dinosaur coming up out of a cesspool and you're about to fall off a cliff, you could swear on a stack of Bibles that's actually what's happening because your senses are telling you that's what's happening. Now imagine that with no glasses.
Okay.
Difficult to make people understand that, in the same way that not too many years ago there was a Lollapalooza show, and this is archaic technology, where Snoop was on stage and Tupac appeared right next to him, even though Tupac's been dead for a long time. So people couldn't believe their eyes. People are not going to be able to believe anything. There are very simple sort of drawings and things. On YouTube, you can go Kiss avatars, and you'll see tip of the iceberg.
Okay. So you feel good about this passing on of the brand?
Bigger. The movie is being cast now. There's a good script going to AAA talent. I can't name you the director because I'm not allowed.
Are you allowed to? So the director will come on first, and then the actors will come on.
Different things being planned at the same. There's cartoon show and live shows, like a Kiss show.
So you're not going to be involved in any of that then?
All of it.
You stay involved.
We control all of it.
Oh, okay. So you gave them like the rights to it.
That's what I said.
Got it. I understand. Okay, that's exciting.
So, and when it makes money, we get a slice of every dollar.
Okay.
In addition to the big chunk they gave us.
Okay, that's excellent. So you always had that like business acumen though. When you decided you were going to make that band, not like or orchestra,
well,
like no other orchestra.
Unfortunately, most guys that strung guitars never paid attention to truth in advertising. It was never called music. It was always called music business. Yeah, but music is more fun to talk. Business, it's guys with Jewish names. Predominantly, yes. Yeah, but I don't want to pay attention to that. Well, too bad. And so from the outset, we took care of that, created trademarks. There was a Kiss before Kiss.
Oh, yeah?
They never trademarked the name.
Oh, so you got it.
You snooze, you lose.
And
but I didn't know that. Well, it was your responsibility. You have an inferred fiduciary duty to yourself to find out who, what, when, where, how, having the right thing at the right place and the right time. That's your responsibility.
Like, how did you know you would be able to sell merchandise and people would want that and it would become a big thing?
Example is what your eyes and your experiences. So at the very outset that we were starting to play shows, fans, early on, because in those days the way you spread your brand was magazines, Circus Magazine and so on, that had a lot of photos of new bands, Mott the Hoople and David Bowie and all that. It was a visual thing. In fact, a lot of young fans, 15-year-olds, bought their first albums because of the art. They'd hear a song and they liked the way it looked, and they'd read stuff about it. That art is gone. And we saw fans, early fans or curiosity fans, who started to make their own Kiss t-shirts. They're telling you what they want or what they're willing to pay. So the audience is always right. And since then, it's been, oh my God, over 50 years. And boy, do I look good. It's been over 50 years. And during that time, I got to do the joke, but it's also true. We've had literally thousands of licensed products, everything from Kiss condoms to Kiss caskets. We'll get you coming and we'll get you going. See what I did there?
Yeah. So that's perfect. And again,
I keep telling you, perfect.
Right. So you were obviously tuned in. So you are an observer.
The word you.
The
ego,
okay. So you and Paul
is insatiable.
Uh-huh.
And we like to hear stuff about ourselves. It's the way you like to hear, oh, you're beautiful, no matter how many times you hear it. But it's not fair, unfair, because I get a lot of the credit for, oh, you're such a genius and all that. It always takes a team. Paul knew stuff I didn't know. I knew stuff he didn't know. He should have taken my advice and signed Van Halen. I found that band.
I know. I read about that.
Yeah,
so
I
you
brought
found them? They were just performing somewhere, low key?
Small club, yeah. Convinced them not to sign with a yogurt manufacturer who was going to take their money. Yeah.
Literally?
Literally. And I told him, forget about money. I'll pay for it. I'll fly you to New York. I'll put you at Electric Lady Studios. I'll produce your first 15-song demo.
And this is while you were, what were you doing at that time?
I was in a band.
Oh my God, this was going on at the same time that you were...
77.
Okay.
1877.
Okay, so what happened?
See,
Did they...
joke.
So they didn't...
Oh, no, they did everything I said and everything. And I couldn't convince Paul or the rest of the guys in the band or the management. They just said, what are you talking about? Said, in a year or two, this is going to be the biggest band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also Eliza Minnelli. So you managed her career?
Yeah, we knew each other socially. In those days in New York, in the Cher and Diana days, you'd go to events and mix with people you either never bothered to care enough to want to go to parties, with these people, but stars tended to kind of gather together. So I remember going to dinners with Nureyev, with famous ballet dancer, and Pacino and everybody. And there was a very famous designer for women called Halston, and there were specials and movies about him. I forgot who was it Michael Douglas? No, that was Liberace. Somebody played Halston in the movie.
Yeah, there was also, I think, a Netflix series I saw. I forget who it was too, though.
Ewan McGregor.
Oh, yeah, that's who it was. Yes.
Ewan McGregor. God bless you. And by the way, that was Halston's place, because I was there.
Oh, okay.
And that's when I first met Liza, and Nureyev was there. Like everybody was there. I was sitting with Cher, and I remember Liza. And people would mysteriously go up to Halston's bedroom. There was a staircase, and then come down a little bit later. I'd never been high, so I didn't know what that thing. Oh, everybody's got a cold. I didn't know what that was. I was one of the idiots. The joke, you want some Coke? How about some 7-Up? I actually said that.
So you were that unaware of it?
Never cared about it.
So it just didn't you didn't think about it then? It's not like you had no, well, I guess you're saying you didn't know what was going on. Because my senses, and I'm not the expert, guys especially, and maybe girls, used the stuff to limber up and get comfortable enough to be able to approach the opposite sex, because they had issues with themselves. I told you I was delusional. I am delusional. I'll walk up to the prettiest girl or whatever, or the most successful businessman, and offer to blow him. No, that's not what I meant to say.
I didn't care. I may not be the best looking guy in the world, but I will walk out with your mom and your girlfriend. Just like your life experiences. When I was growing up, later on I figured it out, without a father and anything, you're on your own. The best way to learn to swim is somebody pushes you into the deep end of the pool, and it's sink or swim.
Mm-hmm. And it was never an issue that you wouldn't, that you wouldn't get involved with drugs at all. Like nobody had any issue with that, did they?
I was surrounded by it.
But did they care that you weren't partaking?
Yes, there's a lot of social pressure. Oh, come on, just one. Come on, how do you know it's not good? All that stuff. But also observation is your best teacher. I was never around a drunk person who ever said anything witty.
Mm.
And if you finally land a girl, because that's what he wants, which is why you guys do all these bright colors, the menstrual colors here and all that stuff. It's what it's all about. By the way, the first lipstick by Cleopatra, who was Macedonian and not Greek, was actually green. The first lipstick.
Is that
yes,
a fact?
in hieroglyphics. And that's because in the desert, I have a hair stuck, it's not for any other reason. And that's because in the desert, because Egypt was part of that thing, green was life.
Mm.
So green was a life-giving thing. So she was childbearing. So the hips, the younger men are attracted to. We don't know that it's about having sex. Is actually about can she procreate, but we're biologically attracted to younger women because they can make kids. But we don't know that. We just check out those boobs and the thing. That's all we know.
So what do you think motivated you to do all of these money-making ventures?
I wanted my mother to be proud because we were poor. And the first decent amount of money I got, I told my mother, you can go out and buy any house you want anywhere.
Where'd she get a house?
Well, unfortunately, she's no longer around. She lived to be 94 years of age, if you can believe that, in a place called Bayside.
Queens?
Yeah. And then after that, bought a bigger place in a place called New Hyde Park.
Okay. And did she live there the rest of her life?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Where are your places? And have you made a ton of money on real estate too?
Yes.
Yes. What's the trick?
The trick? Well, again, right thing, almost in anything, having the right thing at the right place at the
Timing.
right time, because everything is cyclical, including the food you eat, the summer food, and knowing when to buy and when to sell. That includes the stock market.
Do you play the stock market?
Oh, yeah. I'm in crypto deep, and the market, futures, commodities.
But it's fun for you, right? Especially because you have enough.
Well, the best fun is making money.
Yeah.
It's not fun if you're losing your ass.
Uh-huh. But you also have to lose from time to time, too. All these things can't win automatically. So how do you roll with that?
Predominantly, they all win.
Uh-huh.
The biggest piece of advice, because most people aren't qualified and they won't access the information, they won't put in the time. So if you don't have the time, invest all your stupid money, and there's a lot of it. You go on vacations you don't need to go. That means you got to pay for the wife and the kids and the mistress on the side. You got to pay for all that because he will have side flesh. And the side flesh is also happy to do that because she's having fun too, because girls like it as much as guys. And car payments and things and all that, like all those things, you will go on vacations you don't need to go to. That's a lot of money. Don't go. Stay at home, buy her a diamond ring. She'll be happier and it'll be cheaper. You don't need to go to the bar and treat all your 30 friends there to drinks and everything. Don't do that. So if you take a look at the numbers, it's shocking. So you have 365 or so days a year, and every weekend you do nothing. There's 2 days a week, 52 weeks. That's 104 days where you're doing fuck all, nothing. So don't take 104 days and spend money. Don't do that. Watch the ball game, order chips, stay at home, keep the wife company. Don't go to play golf. the cute girls are going to be out. You'll get in trouble. Stay at home with the wife, order dinner, take her to dinner, and all that stuff. So 104 days. Then you have Christmas and vacation and Easter thing and all that kind of stuff. There's so many days out of the year. Almost half of the working, pardon me, it itches. Almost half the working days of the year, like over 200 days, you're spent doing nothing. The trick is, must have nose hairs tickling me. The truth is, the secret is, don't spend money on the days that you're free. Don't do what women do. What are you going to do today? I don't know. Let's go shopping. It's like water buffaloes running to the river. It's never one. There's like a herd of them. As soon as one says, let's go shopping, it's like a herd of water buffalo running to the river. When a guy wants to go shopping, I need a pair of socks. So he goes and buys a pair of socks. Then he goes home. What are you shopping for? And the women say, I don't know. Let's just go find stuff. You have a closet? I know we're in Hollywood. Everybody's got a closet.
I do have a closet. I do.
You have a closet?
You found me out.
Do you have shoes in the closet?
I'm wearing shoes right now.
Do you
Look at
have
these
some
shoes.
shoes
You want to know how much I paid for these shoes?
No,
They're
I
very
don't
cool.
care. Do you have
I
some?
think you should hear.
What's that?
I think you should hear how much I paid for these really cool shoes.
I will say $150.
$17.98.
Very impressive.
Thank you very much. So where were we? Okay, your ventures. Okay, let's go to your production company. So you do want people.
No, it's a film company.
A film company.
Yeah.
So,
Simmons Hamilton.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about that.
We have our first one coming out end of the year or beginning of next year. It was supposed to be out by now, but there's a lot of big movies.
What's the movie?
Don't cross the street when there are a lot of cars going back and forth. Don't do that. Wait for the cars to pass and then leisurely still look around. So it is theatrical. It's going to be in over 3,000 theaters just in America, so it's big. We have a 10,000 theatrical guarantee in China, which is very rare. It's called Deepwater. It's got Sir Ben Kingsley, Aaron Eckhart, Rennie Harlan directing, who directed one of the Die Hard movies. It's big stuff, big action film. Another one with Bella Thorne, who may have the role of her lifetime. She's done a very good job there. And Mel Gibson's in it as well. That's a lower budget one, but also an action thriller.
Wait, can we talk about Mel Gibson a second?
Sorry?
Can we talk about Mel Gibson a second?
Known him for a long time. Yeah.
Okay, because there was some stuff years ago. Did he say some anti-Semitic stuff, or am I just remembering that? So tell me
who said more anti-Semitic stuff than Mel? Me. What's 12 inches in Jewish? Nothing.
Yeah, but you know that somebody making jokes about themselves is not the same thing as somebody making jokes about other people.
So what? When nobody's looking, and I'm never been drunk, when things happen and you're not in your right mind, you're apt to say almost anything. Was he drunk, allegedly, when he said these things?
I don't even remember what he said, to be honest.
Oh. I'm aware only of what I've read. But I've known Mel for a long time, and I know how much he gives, literally tens and tens of millions, and never talks about it. There's an entity called mendingkids.net that we're deeply involved with that gives children free operations, and usually they're third world countries, South America and all that, free operations because they can't afford it. And we've contributed to it. Last year I gave them $250,000, and so these are operations for free to children who can't afford it. When you see the mothers crying and can't stop crying and gratitude and stuff, you understand. And who funded the whole thing? Mel Gibson, by himself. Never did an interview with that.
Okay, so no issue with Mel Gibson. I got you.
No.
Got it. Okay. Do you have issue with anyone?
Who I have an issue with?
Oh, you answered my question before I finished
I beg your pardon. I love the sound of my own voice. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Go ahead. Who?
No, go ahead.
No, my question was...
I told you, men and women, Jewish men and women are exactly the same life form. Go ahead.
My question was going to be, is there anybody or who do you have an issue with?
Well, Hitler is probably not a good guy.
Agree. Who else? You were just about to tell a story.
Oh, there are a lot of bad guys in the world.
But how about people who you know, no good? Not just bad guy. We all know about Hitler. But Who else? Who were you just going to tell a story about?
Well, I forgot because you were talking over me. Talk us, interrupt us.
All right, but you're an interrupter as well. We both interrupt, as you were saying.
Not often. And most people mispronounce that word. Often.
Often. There's a T.
Often.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
That was my tirade. I wanted to finish it before I get too tirade.
So you don't have I'm going to bring you back. You don't have an issue with Mel Gibson.
None. Did he say potty stuff? Oh, yeah, stupid. Is he sorry? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Who has disappointed you in life?
There's a political guy in a high in office who I knew before he became a political animal. And you got to be an animal to get in there because everybody will lie and cheat the current president, everybody, because that's how you access power. That's not the person I knew or thought I knew before the politics. And extremely disappointed and shocked. And what I can say about it, maybe making an analogy, is we're civilized. We don't do certain things because our morals won't let them. In times of war, we will do all kinds of things that we never thought we would do. Human beings are complex.
Who are we talking about?
I said a guy.
Who are we specifically talking about?
There's just no way to talk about politics in this polarized thing, current climate. You'll turn half the country against you. Not that I give a fuck, by the way.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of what you say is like an attempt to turn people against you.
An attempt?
Yeah, maybe subconscious.
Just talking about myself.
No, but I mean, you'll say things about derogatory. Maybe you don't see it as derogatory, but
What
know.
is derogatory?
I don't know. Maybe things about women or
No, those are true.
men or.
No, but those are true.
Okay.
It can't be derogatory if it's true. We have a tendency. We are meat eaters. I know my daughter is vegan. I know, and we talk about this all the time. We have canines. The teeth are designed to rip meat, and then we chew them with the back molars. And we can digest Coca-Cola, but if you pour Coca-Cola on a car, it'll peel the paint off. If it wasn't for meat, it's before farming, we didn't know that, we would be extinct. My daughter knows that, but I was like her when I was a lot younger. I couldn't stand the thought of cutting a chicken's head off and all the suffering. She's right, morally and ethically. But we eat meat. We're predators. We eat meat. So I forgot where my
You were
point
talking about how polarizing politics is. So I think you didn't want to mention who you were talking about.
When I was growing up, it was the days of, John Kennedy and Abraham Lincoln, because I'm older than you think I am.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another joke.
Well, I thought you were that old. I figured you were being
we don't. And
factual.
the best part is we don't give a fuck.
You're on social media, right?
Barely on Twitter.
Do you do your own?
No, Sophie, our daughter, takes care of Instagram, which I never go on, and Facebook. I think Nick or Sophie takes care of that. But I really don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm going to pick my nose for 15 seconds and have Eric Carmen, all by myself, I don't want to live. 15 seconds of that.
Yeah.
But I will say I fully admire this new form of money-making, the influencers. That's a job that never existed before. So this was invented by young people who have no qualification, no resume, no experience of anything. So that's fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Kardashian family, especially Kim, who invented that thing. That should be a course that's taught in colleges. Kardashian branding.
Branding. Well, that's the whole
Branding is the whole
thing.
thing. Know who and what you are and what you stand for. I mean, you have to consider in that family, you've got two female, it's worth noting, whose resume was non-existent, no experience, no nothing, but they're both billionairesses.
Yeah. They are business people.
What other? That
No
doesn't
question.
count Kanye, who used to be a billionaire.
Yes, a lot of them don't make money though. So the Kardashians, absolutely, but a lot of influencers, there are so many now, and a
Well,
lot of them are not making
It's
money.
relatively, because almost the lowest end of the influencer model makes six figures.
Somebody who's successful. There are a lot
I
of
haven't done the figures,
influence
but
up
I've
on
seen
the
and then and you have something you can sell, which is your bodies and sexuality. It's called OnlyFans,
That's taken off.
because men are interested.
So
in the
what's the
package.
next business thing that you're going to
I
jump
don't invest.
into?
I mean, other than stock market. And,
Yeah, but invest your time in, because you've gotten into all these things. So
Well, I'm just signing a deal now for a new island resort area that's hiring me and paying me decent enough to spread their messaging, because whether you're a religion or political entity or a rock band or a podcast, you've got to be able to spread. Everything's about a story, and every religion needs its prophet or its Muhammad or its Jesus to be able to spread the story. Without that, the story doesn't spread. And soap suds need commercials and stuff. You've got to be able to spread the message. Like pollinate. Pollinate is a good idea. You need the bees. I want those special bees that come into the flower to get pollen so they can go off and create new flowers. Without the bees and everything, doesn't happen. So I'm like a bee that goes to different flowers to collect, all the pollinations and stuff. And people pay me. So there's a fascinating, amazing business in Alaska that I have a piece of, and the largest entertainment sports complex in all of North America.
which is
Arizona Mesa. It's got a long name.
okay.
That's in Mesa, Arizona. I have sodas. Go to moneybacksoda.com. Go to
Okay.
moneybagwine.com. You can wines.com. You can go to moneybagvodka.com. 10 times distilled with the most beautiful bottle you ever saw. I mean, there's so much
Okay.
and so little time.
Before I ask you my final question, I did just remember one thing. Tell me about what happened with Terry Gross.
Oh, Terry Gross, the NPR. I remember a long time ago, it was in the swirl of Kiss was in a peculiar time. And we still have had the sort of the dark shadow of, are you cannibals, are you Nazis, or, this kind of thing. Yeah, that's what I want to do, is join the Nazi party after my mother survived Nazi Germany. So I had a defense button when I met somebody who was not being respectful. You have to give as good as you get. And I remember Gross, I went to this dusty old place uptown New York, and she, I think the gender is she, I'm being respectful here, I don't know, said, yeah, walk over here. And there's lots of books, in that way it's very impressive. So tell me about The Kiss. I'm going, The Kiss? I go, well, tell me about the NPR, which sounds like a communicable disease. She goes, well, you can't say that about NPR. Fuck yeah, I can. Who listens to your stuff anyway? I mean, she was not an agreeable person. And I think you noticed by now, I'm pretty upfront. I didn't like her then, I don't like her now, and why pretend? So when you're not rage, when your button is pushed, you push back. There is something called holier than thou, and I found her holier than thou. By the way, if you want to quote the existential philosophers, Nietzsche, Kierkegaard, Kant, I'll go toe-to-toe with you. You want to get religious on me? Psalm and verse, I'll go with you. I'll beat you. Science, anthropology, whatever you want to talk about. But you can't, it's difficult to push back on somebody who just has the feeling that the life form that just walked into their space is lower than them, because it's based on nothing. And that, my dear, does not work with me.
Okay.
In essence, in parentheses, who the fuck do you think you are?
All right. Last two questions.
I never touched her.
Who do people think you are? Who do they think Gene Simmons is?
I would say there are some, could be a large number, could not, who think I'm an asshole. In fact, I named my second solo album Asshole, which is I thought was akin to black people taking possession of the N-word, and fat people, overweight people, obese people, taking possession of that so that you lessen the impact of that. I'm okay with being labeled or thought of as an asshole because I know who I am. And there are other people who think you only do this for money. And my response is, of course. Why am I not salt of the earth when almost all the jobs on the face of the planet are performed by people who don't like the job they have, and the only reason they're doing that is to be able to earn money to feed their families and put a roof over their head. Only for money. Nobody wants to dig ditches on the highway. Or the building we're in, somebody had to put up. They do that every day. They go to work at the same thing every day, 9 to 5, 5 days a week. Join the union or not, and break their backs and never get rich, just to be able to, it's the salt of the earth. Why can't I be salt of the fact that I make more money, but I also give to philanthropy, and by the way, it's none of your fucking business who or what or where. I'm not trying to impress you or not. I know who I am. And maybe that's the best thing to do in life, is to just be comfortable in your own skin, because not everybody likes Jesus either.
And who are you, for real?
I was born Chaim Vitz, a name given to me, but I'm much bigger than that. I'm really something. And I would recommend everybody to be delusional that way about themselves, because whether you are that or not, your brain helps you get there by being delusional about it. Take Mike Tyson, who I know reasonably well, a fascinating human being. I mean, really exceptional. You have to consider that at some point early on in life, he had a bad childhood, bad family life and all that. If it wasn't for Gus raising him and D'Amato and instilling in him and all that, he was shorter than heavyweights. His arms weren't as long as heavyweights. He talks with an interesting voice and has some problem pronouncing certain words, so he's the butt of jokes and everything. Except he decided at some point in his life, early on, before he turned 20, 18, 19, that he was going to be the most dangerous man that ever stepped in the ring. Mindset is the most important thing, regardless. There's no such word as irregardless. Regardless, you're saying there is?
No, I'm saying that's a pet peeve of mine, and thank you for clearing it up.
Double negative.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's irrespective and regardless combined by mistake.
No such thing. It's regardless of the fact that there was no logic, almost delusional, in saying, oh yeah, I'm going to be the most dangerous man. I'm going to knock out people in 5 seconds. That's exactly what he did. There's such a thing as will to live, will to win. It's the will. Mindset is everything. So I recommend to everybody, be more delusional. Every female that ever put on a stiletto heels or anything, you are hot. You ever wonder how larger black girls have no problem shaking it, showing it off, whereas white girls are concerned if there's 5 more pounds of stuff. What do black girls have that white girls don't have? Strong sense of self. It's what it's all about. And the more they have of that feeling, the sexier they are. You make it real by your mindset. Never pick a fight with a short guy who is smaller than you and lighter than you, who just has the your ass is mine. Don't pick a fight with that guy, because it doesn't matter if you're going to win. You're going to get hurt. Yeah. So it's the will to win is everything. And that's what I have buckets full of. I know. It continues on. I'm more ravenous and hungry to do stuff and achieve more than I've ever been. And I've done pretty well so far.
Okay, friends, that's Gene Simmons trying to throw me off at times, and me trying to redirect and help him just be himself. Which leads me to my analysis that I promised. Okay, here's how I see it. Gene is super smart, and he had a really difficult childhood. So maybe he decided when he was young that he was going to have a certain kind of life in which he wasn't a victim and in which he had a little more control. This persona he created made him famous and allowed him to move through the world in a particular way. So it's been useful. It's funny because he said to me, you know me by now, I'm very upfront, right? Well, sure. But also, I think there's way more to Gene than what he says. What do you think? Drop me an email at reallyfamouspodcast@gmail.com, or drop a comment on my YouTube channel on one of the videos, or comment on social media. I'm at Kara Mayer Robinson. So yeah, this is one of a kind. He's one of a kind, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for hanging out with Gene and me. I'll be back very soon with more talks with more icons of different varieties. Please stay tuned.
I've never,
You what?
I was going to say I've never done the couch thing, but I have a few times. I've never done the therapist get on the couch. There's so many jokes I could tell.
Did you ever think about it?
No.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, but I knew not to bother because I knew you wouldn't have ever done it. So I dropped it.
Because you knew what?
I knew you wouldn't see a therapist.
Knew I wouldn't see it that way?
Yeah. No. I knew that the answer would be no, I've never saw a therapist. I was going to ask you that question. I had that in my head of, let me ask that.
Who do therapists see?
What do you mean? Oh, so plenty of therapists see other therapists.
So who's right?
No, it's not about right or wrong. It gives them a place to talk about stuff.
Who shines the light to make you understand? This therapist who's laying down on the couch, or the other therapist?
No, well, it really is so I'm not, now we're getting a little meta with the two therapists, but a therapist.
Jungian or Freudian?
Okay. Or a little bit of both or neither. But
semantics, but I'm not anti-semantic.
But the therapist sees it. So as a therapist, I connect the dots. I hear, I listen, I watch, I connect dots, and then I help them see it.
But mostly you ask questions.
Yeah, I mostly ask questions, so and then I show them what I'm seeing.
Test, so we talk about ourselves.
Well, I mean, a little bit, but I also get history from people. Well, what happened? What was it like? What was your childhood like? What was your mom like? All that stuff. Questions. I ask questions, and then I get information, and then I start to see patterns.
When you have two Jews sitting with each other, how are you? How am I? How should I be? Who are you? A lot of questions.
All right, Gene, thank you for this.
It was a pleasure to talk to me.